Hello everybody, I am Ovid Banerjee and this is your first video about resources and developments. You have already read about resources in class 8. Now in class 10, when you have read about the resources, you have to read properly and with lots of explanation. Now the definition of resource which able to fulfill our needs is called resource. But in class 10 you have to elaborate most of the things that which is technologically accessible, which is culturally acceptable and which is economically feasible. This is are called resource. Technologically accessible means there are lots of resources in our nature, but sometimes we had not adequate or we have not adequate preferred technology to access these resources. Second, whether this economically feasible or not, we have to consider it before we survey or before after survey. We have to just discuss whether the resources we get is economically feasible or not. And the third thing is culturally acceptable. When we access these resources, we have to think that it should not harass any cultural perspective. Think, below the temple, if we get coal, but the people who believe in temple does not support us or do not support us to access this coal, so we can say that this is culturally not acceptable. And if culturally not acceptable, we can't say it is not a resource. Now, after that, we can discuss about the classification of the resources. First, in the basis of origin, there are biotic resource and abiotic resource. In the basis of exhaustibility, renewable resource and non-renewable resource. In the basis of ownership, there is individual resource, community resource, national resource and international resource. And in the basis of status of development, we have a potential resource, developed resource, stock resource and the reserve resource. Now we can explain about this. First things, biotic and abiotic, which belong to living organism or which resources belong to living organism is called biotic. In a opposite direction, which resource belong to non-living things or which resource we get from non-living things is called abiotic resources. Just like mountains, plateaus, these are our abiotic resources. Now, in the basis of exhaustibility, if we think about the resources, as we know that there are few resources which we cannot regenerate in our next future. So, there are two types, renewable resource, non-renewable resource. There are few resources which we can regenerate or which nature helps us to regenerate again and again. This is called renewable resource, just like wind energy, solar energy. And there are some resources which called non-renewable resource, and this type of resources we can't regenerate in our next future, just like coal, petroleum. These are non-renewable resources. So in the basis of exhaustibility, we have two types of resources, renewable and non-renewable resources. Next, in the basis of ownership, there are individual resources. Look, which things is basically particular only individual, this is called individual resources. Just like this pen is my individual resources, and which is called or which is used by whole community, this is called community resources. Just like park, this is used by whole community, so it's called community resources. Next, national resources. Just like which resources are used by whole nation, this is called national resources. Just like rail line or rail stations, airports, all are belongs to national resources. And we can say the coastal area which is belong to 12 nautical mile. From coastal area to oceanic area, 12 nautical miles is belong to national resource. And 12 nautical miles means 22.2 kilometers. It is belong to our national resources. In international resources, from the exclusive economic zones to 200 nautical miles is called international resources. And these resources, when we use these resources, we have to take permission from the international institutions. Okay, this is all about your first video. Thank you.